The next knot in illusion is lust, or the sex drive. Bear in mind that all these that I've been talking about, they end in dispassion. And for a passionate one, dispassion is very difficult to comprehend because it doesn't contemplate the romantic idea of involvement in whatever circumstance it is. And lust is the same. So the sex drive, let's call it this way, it's a powerful force embedded, ingrained through all beings, more or less, which is mainly connected to the need of continuity of the species. So this urge, this force doesn't care about your personal goals of a family, of the continuity of yourself, but the species. Doesn't care if it is a romantic involvement, if there is consent or there's no consent. It matters is that it continues the species, that these sperm and ovums connect themselves and new beings come into existence. This is its main purpose. So we look at nature and we see how animals behave. And if that force is not there, because they function in a different way, everything is nice. But when that urge comes, nothing can stop them. They become obsessed with that. And until it finally ends, they cannot rest. They go through all levels of dangers. There are species that die to be able to reproduce. Unknowingly, they know they are going to die, and they die to reproduce. So this is a very strong power of nature, of Maya. And it's very difficult to transcend. More difficult to ones than others according to personality traits and so on. But it is a strong force, and it is connected to pleasure. It's a direct source of immediate pleasure, like food, for example. Two very strong currents. So this sex drive takes you, it carries you into directions that probably you wouldn't go. And this is experienced many times. It's like in that moment, in that urge, in that intensity, you do things that afterwards you see, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But you were taken in that moment. So there are many things you can do, but understand, it's not about sex in itself. It's about breaking that overpowering influence of that force over you. That's what it's about. Not to be dragged again and again and again and again. There's many things you can do. Your food bears a big influence, of course. And there are levels of vibration in which it is more easy to transcend this bodily need than others. So when you're at a level of objectifying the other, this is a lower vibration. And the lowest the vibration is, the more difficult it becomes to transcend it. When there is love involved, there's much less objectification of the other. It is the exercise of love. Still, there is objectification. It's difficult to transcend this. And it's difficult not to make this a matter of your pleasure from that circumstance. So there's this physical level where you get exposed to different hormones. Even the hormones that you're producing influence others. For example, a woman when she's ovulating, the man becomes more interesting. The type of man that she finds interesting changes, and she gets more attentive to this. Males also, they are always looking because this tends to make them look constantly. And if the woman is ovulating, she becomes much more attractive, much more attractive. And it doesn't matter the love into the question. It is physiological, instinctive, first of all. So bringing the other aspects of love and all these things, it's a way to rise from this instinct level, from this animal level. And through love, it becomes a higher experience, a more subtle experience. And the more subtle it becomes more easy, more possible to transcend. And eventually, transcendence is through dispassion. Your attention has moved so high, that those currents, those forces, they don't bind you anymore. It doesn't mean that you are unable to, but there's the dispassion involved, which is difficult to understand for someone who is filled with passion. And we can call it dispassion, lack of interest. Because interest has been directed into that upward direction. So when you're trying to overcome this, every detail matters. The food that you're eating plays a big role. So if you reduce the salt, that sex drive becomes a little bit less. It can even disappear if, depending on which level you are. But lots of other things, avoiding the vision of the opposite sex, that which attracts you, because the mind will use that in specific ways, much after that innocent exchange of looks. It will use the figure, it will use everything just to stimulate that. The mind will try to stimulate the sex drive to happen again and again and again. And will use whatever it has in its reach. And you will try and you will fail, and eventually you will succeed. Everybody has a different experience with this. For some, it's no problem whatsoever. It's not connected even to a continuity of species, not in those circumstances where they are. For others, it means getting attention, a source of quick pleasure, and so on and so on and so on. But abstracting from whatever kind of contact is very important to succeed, to reach this passion. And silencing the mind, not involving with those sexual thoughts, is very important. Another aspect of it is that it makes you waste your energy. And it makes you more susceptible to the powers of illusion. As you get too overwhelmed by the experience, your nervous system doesn't strengthen, continues to be easily impressed. Lust.